Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sharon. I'm one of the marketing consultants at Wave Evolution. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel. We will then have a Q&A session after the presentation. It's 10 o'clock right now, but I think let's just wait for another 5 minutes so that everyone can join before we get started. Yeah, I'll come back to you 10:05. Hi, everyone. Okay, so welcome to our webinar. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that this webinar is actually being recorded. So we will send you all the relevant download links after the event, including a link to the webinar recording as well as the slides. Okay, so today we are going to present Structure a B2B sales outreach to reach your customer in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong, presented by our regional consultant, Travis Saul. Just a little background about Travis. He actually founded Wave Evolution in 2007 with a core solution on email marketing. With more than 10 years of experience and success, he is an email marketing specialist with in-depth knowledge of campaign strategy, working with clients from different industries in different regions in Asia Pacific. So definitely no doubt he has become a trusted advisor and business growth strategies to businesses from small, medium enterprise to large enterprise companies in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong. Let us welcome Travis.
Hi everyone, my name is Travis. I guess everyone can actually see my full screen and yeah, so all right, okay, then just let me get started. All right, okay, so basically I'll be a speaker for today. I'm a regional consultant with Solutions, and our topic for today will be on how we can actually structure a B2B sales outreach campaign to reach your customer in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong, right? Okay, then let me just turn to another slide here. All right, so just a little bit introductions about Wave Ocean in general. So we have been in the market for over than 15 years right now. And among the clients that we are servicing right now will be very much like whatever you can see on this slide. Grab, Singtel, Fujitsu, Foodpanda, LG, even SoftBank, and so on. So those are among our B2B clients that we are currently servicing right now in the regions of APAC. Mainly, it's like countries like Malaysia, Singapore, and Hong Kong, and so on, right? Okay, so and our core solution is very much on email, right? So I'm going to tell you why email is being a focus for this webinar as well, and how we can actually generate a constant leads, a B2B leads through email marketing, right? So, and of course, in this webinar, I'm also going to actually include sections on how we can actually find, okay, an email address of your target prospective customer. It could be a top CEO of a certain company, yeah, all right, and how you can actually find a direct email to him or her and to reach out to this list of top decision maker for sales prospecting purposes. All right. Okay. And among the key takeaway for this session would be there are among 5, which I'm going to cover in about 60 minutes of the time. So just stay on, right? And being your first topic would be how we can actually create B2B ideal customer profile, ICP in short. So ICP simply means that your target audience, who are there? All right, what are main characteristics of those people that you're going after, right? And secondly, be followed by what are the best channel, right? So I've been talking about email, but other than email, that's like telephone, there's like LinkedIn advertising, and so on, how you can actually reach out to them effectively, and what are the best channel, right? So I'm going to actually tell the differences between all these 3 channels and how we can actually utilize it to actually maximize your outreach campaign, right? And thirdly, would be, I guess it's the most important parts of these sessions. And once you determine who are your ideal customer profile, your ICP, and you have found the best channel to actually reach out to them, but where to find your list of prospect, right? So how we can actually find a so-called a database of those people that you're going after. So I'm going to cover on these sections later on. And of course, lastly, once you have determined the best approach, best channel with your ICP or layout, and you have got a list of all those database that you want to reach out to, how you can actually write a message, to attract them, to actually to respond back to you. So this is messaging parts that you need to actually understand in depth. There's certain formula or certain things that you should write in an email or even telephone call in order to actually capture their attentions and to get back to you, in terms of responded back to you. All right. And the last one will be how you can actually plan out a follow-up strategy, because most of the time, a lot of marketer, they miss the last step, right? So they just think about, oh, I'm going to send out to thousands of email or whatsoever. I'm going to make a call to thousands of people or whatsoever, but they miss out the last point, which is how we can actually integrate the follow-up strategy, all right, to actually to reapproach these people, all right, in a data-driven way, and it can actually improve or boost your response rate by about more than 50%, with just a simple follow-up strategy. So there will be a last part of how you can actually integrate this large piece of the puzzle, okay, in order to actually boost up the response rate from your sales outreach campaign, right? So, and I would like to actually to understand more about our audience, right? Okay, so that's why we wanted to actually launch poll questions, all right, to actually encourage everyone from you to actually to vote. The first question is being, have you done any cold email sending before? Cold email sending means you're sending to prospective customer that you are unknown of, they don't know about you, all right, but you wanted to actually to get into them and you send out an email to them, right? So yeah, just take your time. Yeah. Right. So there's quite a lot of people has, yeah, 83% already answered. Okay. All right. I guess we can, 91%. I guess another 2 more person. Okay. Yeah. If not, then we're going to end the poll. Yeah. So I would have another questions right here. All right. For some of you, let me share the, yeah. All right. Sorry. Okay. So so second questions would be among the channel that you're doing right now, right? Okay. Which channel that you think is effective in generating B2B leads? Would it be email, cold calling, or telemarketing? Or could it be organic search, which is search engine optimization? Or would it be Google Ads? Or maybe a Facebook ads or LinkedIn, and maybe others, right? So yeah, would actually wanted to know from all these attendees, right? So 41% has participated. Yeah. So hope for more, 50%. Right. Okay. So 70%. 83%. I guess another 4 more person to actually to complete this poll. If not, then I guess we can actually share the result. Perhaps my team can share the result and the poll and share the result. All right. Okay, so it seems that more people actually think that SEO or organic search is one of the most effective channel to actually generate B2B leads. Okay, good. All right, sure. All right, okay, so let me proceed with the topic of today. Right, okay, so what actually is B2B sales outreach marketing campaign, right? Okay, it simply means that when you make a call out, right, to prospective customer, through call, maybe you send out cold email, all right, or maybe messaging, or even social media through LinkedIn, all this channel, and you're trying to actually sell something to your B2B customer, your B2B buyer, right, with the hope to convert them into a customer, right? So this is a process of a B2B sales outreach marketing campaign, right? So how you can actually do it successfully and drive a sales revenue to your organizations, this is what we are going to talk about today. All right, so this is one of the sample that sent through the email channel that you and me, perhaps we have been seeing this type of a cool email, on a daily basis, that someone is actually trying to sell something to you, right? By writing you an email, all right, a plain text email. There's no promotional kind of a HTML email that full of graphics, that kind of things. But they're actually a personalized event, right? Like opportunity for your company name, personalized to a company name. And they even know your name, right? Hi, whatever, David, hi, Dylan, hi, Jazz or whatsoever. So those are the things that they are trying to send to you, and they're trying to actually to ask you for a call or something like that, right? So this is one a sample, a cool email that we are talking about, right? Okay, how we can actually plan out so-called a sales outreach campaign through email channel. So this is just one example, and of course, before moving on, all right, I would like to actually to go into a very first topic of today, which is how we can actually create your ICP. All right, there's certain formula on how we can actually create your ICP, which is your target audience. Who are there, right? So yeah, this is the slides that summarize everything. All right, I would suggest you to actually to look into your existing data from a CM system, or maybe you put it in Excel file whatsoever. You can possibly uncover some kind of common characteristics of your ICP, right? Be it from a standard attributes that we are going to define your ICP would be like, for example, by industry segments, geography, where are they, right? Even by country or even by states or regions in your country or locations, I'm not sure, all right? And even sizes of businesses, right? So would there be $100 million company, or would it be $1 million company or whatsoever, right? A number of employee in the company and even a job functions or job title. Who are they? Are they IT, or are they a C-level, or are they a HR, or are they whatever, right? So you must be very clear, all right, by understanding from existing data that you have, right, from a CM system mainly, then you can actually leverage on these common characteristics of these people, define them by industry, geography, size of the businesses, right? And also job functions. And you can actually have a more solid understanding about your ICP. And of course, once you understand the ICP, right, what are used with all these informations, right? You can actually leverage on these informations and to find the lookalike of these people that you're looking for. Let's just say, for example, you are going after let's just say, for example, automotive manufacturer in Bangkok, for example, right? And you wanted to actually reach out to IT decision maker of these people, right? So you can actually find more automotive manufacturing company in Bangkok itself, right? And it could be thousands or even whatever numbers that we are talking about of those companies who share the similar characteristics. That is the company that you can actually going after, right? So you must be very, very clear from your own existing data, define them by all these common attributes and to find more data based on those so-called research that you have made towards your own customer data to build an ICP. Okay, another thing that I would like to highlight, because a lot of our own client, right, most of the time when they say, I want to reach out to those C-level or so-called, maybe it's CTO, right, Chief Technology Officer, of that organizations, all right, which is top level in IT job functions, like CTO, CIO, all those functions. But most of the time, we are trying to tell our client, and in B2B selling, it's all about selling to organizations, it's not selling to individual, right? So, and in order to sell to organizations, sometimes when you're trying to actually speak to or email to the top decision maker like CTO or CIO, they tend to be very busy and they won't have time to actually talk to you or even glance through your email, right? So we got to find an alternative, right? Okay, who would be the influencer? We call it influencer. Influencer is someone that actually on a lower rank compared to CTO and CIO, which could be an IT manager or IT director. Okay, so those would be the person that you should consider to actually reach out to them. All right. So my point is, don't just reach out to those on the top level, but consider someone who are sharing the same job functions as those, what do we call ICP that you're going after. And you can actually similarly, you can still reaching out to these organization and to sell a solution to that particular organizations, right? So try to consider influencer, right? In this case, in order rather than a decision maker, a top level decision maker, and you're still in the end selling to that organization. And these people tend to be a little bit more free compared to CTO, and they still have the power to actually influence the top level to actually consider solutions. All right. So when you're creating an ICP, do consider this factor, influencer, right? And of course, one of the things that we should actually consider is because we have a limited resources, right? So, and also a limited budgets when we are doing this marketing campaign. So I would suggest you to actually to put some kind of rating system, all right, which is you can put it like a best fit, good fit, or bad fit, all right? Best fit being like, for example, a tier 1 or priority of your target audience. Let's just say, for example, I wanted to reach out to those perhaps advertising agency in Hong Kong, right? And the decision maker would be C-level, all right, C-level advertising agency in Hong Kong. That'll be my tier one, all right, or my best fit customer, which I'm going to put 50% of my time and 50% of my budgets to actually go after this group audience. And I can also set up a tier two, which contributes slightly good revenue to my business. It could be maybe a technology company in Hong Kong, and I want to actually reach out to their CEO as well, right? But it being a second tier, right? Also called maybe just a good fit, all right? Secondary targets. So always categorize your customer, also called ICP, by tier one, tier two, and tier three, for example. And you can actually put up 50% of the time and resources and money to go after the tier one, which is the tier one is going to contribute most, I don't know, significant revenue to your business. I'm not sure, right? So you got to actually analyze your data from a CRM, right? And having a tier two and tier three or whatever, right? In order to actually arrange your resources and in terms of time and money effectively, all right? So having this rating system is rather important so that you can focus your energy and everything to target the right person, okay? And when you're creating this ICP, right, always consider about the needs and why, right? So how you can actually address the challenges, like just now I mentioned about advertising agency of those C-level, right? Okay, and secondary being the technology company and CEO, right? So when you are actually to speak to those advertising agency as opposed to technology firm, right? Okay, they face the different challenges every day, right? So you must really understand when you talk to advertising agency as opposed to technology-based firm, right? So you should really understand what are situations or what are challenges that they are facing every day and how your solutions can actually solve, all right? How your solution can actually solve the problem that advertising agency is facing right now and how your solution can actually solve the technology firm, the problem the technology firm is facing right now. You know, so you must really be clear, you know, for each of the segment that you are trying to target, how you can actually solve the challenges that they are facing. So with this formula, you can actually effectively create ICP. And from there, we're going to actually talk about the next topic is how we can actually use what channel, right, to actually outreach to these people. Okay. And in this webinar, I'm going to actually talk about three channels, all right, which is basically email, call, and social media, right? With my focus is very much on email. Reason why is because based on some survey and even we've done a lot of marketing campaigns to outreach, to help our client to outreach to a prospective customer in B2B segment, right? 80% of the B2B buyer, which is your customer, they prefer you can actually first contact them by email, right? 80% of the B2B buyer, your customer. It's not what I suggest to focus on email. It's because your buyer prefer you to actually outreach to them through email first. Okay, so an email is a channel that you can actually send out at scale. So that means we can actually send out like thousands or even hundreds of thousands of, if you have that kind of data at one go, and you can actually do a personalizations and segmentations and so on, which I'm going to cover later on. And it's one of the top channel in B2B marketing. Okay, so you can actually use email to actually to approach your customer effectively. All right. So, and secondly, there's another option, which is a telemarketing, a cold calling, right, through phone call, right? So through phone call, sometimes to some people, it could be quite disruptive, all right? It's disturbing or whatsoever, all right? But however, you can actually leverage on these tools, right? This channel, right? Phone call, effectively if you're being data-driven enough. Data-driven here means, for example, we used to actually have a hybrid approach, right? So we send out email, all right? Because our email marketing system can actually track like open rate and click-through, right? So we know for the fact that whenever we send out like maybe 5,000 email, right? There's 1,000 people who open up the email and see the content already. And maybe out of these 1,000 people who see the content already, maybe just 200 people actually click on the link inside the email. So with this summary, right, with this data, right, we can actually target specifically this 1,000 people only rather than 5,000. So that means we can actually kind of like use email as a first phase of reaching out to our target audience. And secondly, when we follow up, we don't just call up to 5,000 people, but we selectively pick up those who has interacts with our email, which is that 1,000 people who has already opened up our email, and call them. All right, that would tend to be more effective, and because they've shown some kind of a keen interest to even to actually to click on your email or at least open up your email in the first place. Yeah. So basically, cool call. It could be a kind of like a warm up leads that you warm up through email and call them after that, right? And then social media is actually, I'm referring to LinkedIn, but it depends on country. You know, some country is less active in LinkedIn. Some countries tend to be more active on LinkedIn, right? So basically, LinkedIn, it could be another significant source of B2B leads that you can actually consider when you are reaching out to them, right? So, but of course, LinkedIn has limitations in terms of like, for example, if you are not active on LinkedIn, you know, the CEO or CTO is too busy or so ever, it's not on LinkedIn, then you're having a hard time to actually reach out to them, right? It's compared to email and phone call, right? But social media through LinkedIn could be another channel that you can actually find a prospective customer and connect to them and sell to them, right? So, and of course, there's a questions that come out, right? So what are the best channel, right? The clear answer is multi-channel, right? Clear answer is multi-channel. So that means it should be a hybrid of everything, all right? Because there's some survey being done that, you know, some organizations, when they do a sales outreach campaign, require like, you know, as much as 16 touch point per prospect within 2 to 3 weeks time in order to generate, to warm up that leads to become interest on your products, right? So it requires as much as 16 touch point. How do we define a touch point? Means like, for example, send out like 5 email, all right? So it's considered five touch point, and you call up 2 times, it's another 2 touch point, right? So basically, yeah, I'm not saying that you keep sending multiple email to the same individual whatsoever. They must be data driven, which I'm going to cover later on, right? So, but averagely, for each prospect to turn into a hot leads, right, for a business, right, it requires as much as 16 touch point, all right, with multi channel, right? So yeah, and of course, one of the point that I would like to emphasize is when you do an email campaign, right? Okay, and you can actually, because sometimes people, you might have a call to action plan to actually to click and go to a landing page or microsites or whatsoever, right? So we suggest you to actually to set up like remarketing tags from Google or even Facebook or LinkedIn Insight tag, you know, all those things. You know, the purpose is actually you can actually remarket to these people who has already visited your microsites, and once they come back to Facebook, they still see your ads. So you're not going to actually terminate somewhere like, you know, send out email and they don't take actions, or they don't do anything, they don't respond back to you and lose them, right? So you can actually use a B2B email channel, which is through email mainly, okay, and send out the email campaign. And once they interact with, you know, whatsoever link inside email contents, they go to a landing page. That's where you can use another channel, which is, you know, through a social media or Google what do we call Google Ads, you know, and so on, to actually to remarket, so that your brand will always stay in front of them, to keep reminding them. And it's considered as one of touch point, right? To keep remind them, and I'm here, you know, to solve the problem that you are facing right now, right? So multi-channel is a key to success in any B2B sales outreach campaign. So that would be the answer to you. Okay, now the next thing is I did mentions about this is the most important sections of the day. How we can actually, because once you have defined ICP already, and you know what are the best channel to actually reach out to them, whether email or telephone call or LinkedIn or whatsoever, but where to find a list of prospect, right? All right. So that is the answer for today. Yeah, basically, Wave Evolutions, our company, has launched a platform called www.waveleads.io, right? That you can actually visit later on. All right, waveleads.io is actually a freemium software as a service platform that we have a database so-called business B2B contact information in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong, which you can actually register a free account, and every month you're going to get 5 credits. 1 credit means 1 database, basically 1 contact information for free, completely. All right. So yeah, just go to this website and visit. And in this platform, right, you can actually kind of like filter your prospective customer based on ICP that you already draft out by locations. Mainly, I would say Southeast Asia, covered like Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, and Thailand, and Hong Kong as well. Right. So those are the countries that we cover. Right. So, and you can actually filter by industry. Like, for example, you are going after like manufacturing, advertising, whatever, so you can actually just pick and choose the industry that you want to go, and targets, and also a job title level, like for example, information technology, IT, human resource, and so on, right? Okay, so, and even a business size, like for example, a company of over than 200 people, you can actually have that kind of multiple filtering, all right, in order to find out what are the database that is available that match the ICP that you're looking at, right? So, and this is at a glance, Waveleads.io. Those are the database that we have on this platform. All right. So it covered from Singapore, we have more than 75,000 B2B decision maker, Malaysia 42,000, right? Hong Kong 19,000, and Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, and Indonesia, and so on and so forth, right? So this data count is going to be increased on a monthly basis, right? So we're going to actually add on more data and so on, right? So through this platform, all right? So we can actually register for free account later on, right? And just give me some like 5-minute introductions to this Waveleads.io platform. So basically, this is the things that I mentioned, right? You can actually filter out like industry, job title, company sizes, and revenue range. And even if you're performing some kind of ABM marketing, like account-based marketing that you want, perhaps you might have a 100 company that you want to enter, right? So 100 company name, you can actually go into our system, right? And just paste the 100 company name, or maybe their domain name, right? Paste into the system, and we're going to show up, right? What are the match company? If we have a completely this 100 company, the data, the person in charge behind this 100 company. So we're going to show up something like that. All right, sorry, something like that, right? That you can actually see partial information about who are the people on our database by country, by job functions, like company name, industry, and so on, right? So of course, you can actually further filter down like for specific job title, all right? And of course, once you have chosen the data that you need, you can actually add a wish list. Okay, wish list is simply means like in e-commerce, we call it a shopping carts. So before purchase, right? So you can actually add into wish list, and after that, you can actually purchase, all right, the data, right? So this data is basically we offer on a monthly subscription basis or pay as you go. That means one-time purchase, then you own the data, So monthly is basically you have to pay every month. It starts with 100 credits, means 100 database, all right, at $49. And we do have a local currency from Singapore dollars, Thai bahts, Malaysian ringgit, Hong Kong dollars, or whatsoever as well. It is auto converted to a Southeast Asian Hong Kong currency by itself, right? So these are the platform that you can actually try later on. All right. So yeah. So some of kind of like client, they are facing problem like, for example, oh, okay, so Waveleads.io is not everything, right? It's quite true that we couldn't cover just every B2B decision maker in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong, totally we can't, right? So that's why we have solutions to actually still be able to actually find email data, contact information of your ICP by way of like, we call it a data scraping. Data scraping, it means that we go to internet resources and to find the company that you're going after, and we can actually find the email behind these people, right? Okay, so, and am I interrupted? Sorry. Okay, yeah, right. Okay. All right. So sorry. Okay. So, and in this case, right, we have a solutions to actually to help you to find email behind a specific company. Like for example, if you are looking for, let's just say, for example, manufacturing company in Malaysia, right? So of a size of above 100 staff, for example. So we can actually help you to find all the manufacturing company in Malaysia by their domain name. Like for example, maybe we have found like a 1,000 company name, and we have found like 1,000 domain name or website URL of those 1,000 company. What we can do is with these 1,000 domain name, we can actually turn into like 10,000 or 20,000 email that behind this 1,000 domain name. Okay, so this is one of the things that we can actually help you to find. And what are the use cases of those, or we call it about email scraping, right? Okay, one thing is you can actually target by industry, okay? And another thing is you can actually geo-targeting. Like for example, previously we have done one project for our clients in Singapore, whereby they want to target those people who are working around in Orchard Road, right? So what we do for them is our job is to actually find those companies which have a presence in nearby Orchard Road, right? And we find a list of those domain name, right? Okay, of those company there. And of course, you know, those people are working in those company in Orchard Roads, okay, who have a presence in Orchard Road, will be working there, for example. You know, so this is another way of how we can actually use this bulk email scraping to find the people who are working or in a specific locations, or we call it a geo-targeting, right? So this is one of the things. And of course, a second strategy that we have is we can actually help our client to actually find even more targeted. Like for example, you might want to actually find a specific, like for example, CEO or CTO of a specific company, right? So we can actually help you to find the data behind all this, depending on all what you can see on this screen, from job functions, industry, locations, employee size, revenue, and whatsoever. We can actually help you to find the people behind. I mean, in terms of the email addresses, all right, of those people. All right, how do we do that? Maybe I can actually reveal some kind of secrets, you know, how we can actually get to that, right? Okay, so this is where I promised just now, you know, before start of webinar, you know, so how we can actually reach out to those top decision maker, for example, a CEO, you know, that you want to know the email address behind this CEO. This is how we actually do it, okay? And I'm going to show you how, all right? So just keep a focus on this slide, right? So now, mainly I would say we base on LinkedIn to actually find the information, or so-called a contact person. This slide has shown that Ali Miller is actually AI specialist in Amazon, right? Okay, so we know for the fact that we have got the name, we have got the job functions, and we have got the company name, but without email, right? LinkedIn is not going to display the email to you unless you are the so-called connections to this person, right? Yeah. So how we actually refine the email is basically the clear answer is simulate or guess. All right, we guess the email, right? Okay, so I'm going to tell you how we can actually get a correct email. All right. So yeah, so we will first scan through the public internet, you know, how Amazon staff email looks like, right? Okay. So what is the email patterns of Amazon staff, right? So we will first need to find out the patterns. All right. So perhaps after we scan through the web, we found that Amazon staff email could be something like that. First name, last name, first letter at Amazon.com, right? So with Ali Miller, Ali as a first name, right? Miller with an M as a first letter, we can guess, okay? We can simulate that Ali M at Amazon.com is her email, all right? So it's logic, right? It's logic, right? Based on the so-called data that we can find from anywhere on the internet, we can actually simulate that Ali M at Amazon.com is her email. And what about, let's say, just say, for example, we found that David Johnson is a CDO of Amazon. What would be a David Johnson's email is, right? So it's going to be David J at Amazon.com is the CDO of Amazon, right? But however, since it's simulations and since it's like a guessing game, right? So the email that we guess, it might not be correct. Okay, what we're going to do next is we have a platform to actually verify the email that we have found. If the email after verified is found to be valid, kind of like 99% confirm that this LEM@amazon.com is her email. And it's safe to actually outreach to this ally to sell a solution. Okay, so this is how we found the email. And of course, we do this process, it's not manual. All right, we are using some kind of platform to actually guess at scale. It's not one by one. It's going to be massively, thousands of email or whatsoever based on ICP. There's what we call a data scraping, all right, email scraping, and we get to that email massively. It's not just one by one. And of course, at the end of it, for quality purpose, we have to verify that email is really what we guess before we actually put up onto our platform, waveleads.io. So you can do it yourself, but it's just a little bit slow, but you just need to actually find out email patterns of the company that you're going after, right? So this is a strategy of how we can actually find the email address of those people, okay? So, and of course, the next sections is quite important also to me, because once you have data, is how you can actually use the data, right? Okay, so and of course, these sessions, I'm going to fully focus on email channel. Remember that 80% of a B2B buyer, they will prefer if you can actually email them first, right? So they prefer email channel. So I'm going to talk more into an email channel for your messaging, or so-called content strategy. All right, so this is the anatomy of a great outreach email campaign. Right, so you must first know about objective, find the data, and then craft the email message and have a follow-up strategy. All right, and in terms of email templates that we propose to have is always use the data, like for example the name and even a company name and the job functions or whatsoever, and greet them, all right, with their name in the email content or even a subject title. Which you can easily do it with the email marketing software, which we are offering also, right? So this email marketing software will be able to actually, like for example, import a list of like thousands of email together with the name and the company name. All this information will be captured into a platform of software, and when you send out, right, you can actually put variables or so-called placeholder codes for the name, and it's going to be changed to each and individual name. Like for example, when you send to me, I'm going to see Dear Travis. When you send to David, it's going to see Dear David. When you send to Dear Jazz, whatsoever, so it's going to personalize by itself. So personalization is very, very much important, right? And secondly, segmentation is, for me, is really, really, really important, okay? Because initially when we draft ICP, I did say about, you must know how you can actually come up with something that answer the needs and why, all right, of your ICP, right? Okay, segmentation is more about your understanding towards your ICP, and say a line of message, all right, or maybe a paragraph of message that solve the problem that they're facing now. All right, like for example, when you're sending advertising and technology firm, right, IT firm, right, so they are having different challenges that they are facing, right? So you must address the challenges by writing out perhaps their pain point, and how your solution can actually solve the IT firm, when you're sending to IT. And it could be another way around, like for example, when you're sending to CTO, right, which is IT decision maker, and as opposed to sending to CEO, which is top level, right? Their challenges is different as well, right? So CEO, they will be very much on company directions, sales and revenue, profitability of the company and so on. So that is where the pain point is, right? While the CTO is more on, like, for example, digital transformations, IT security, cyber security, IT infrastructure, IT strategy or whatsoever. So your message must be catered to each and individual job functions and answer the problem that they are facing right now. Then only you can actually effectively turn these leads into a prospective customer, right? So segmentations is all about understanding and how we can actually personalize a message with the use of email marketing software, and you can actually send up a highly effective email messages with this strategy, personalizations and segmentations. And of course, the second point is put yourself in their shoes, means understand them enough and write the message that solve the problem that they're facing right now. And of course, lastly, in your message, all right, always put a call to action plan. Okay, what is next for them, right? Okay, a typical one would be like, for example, you can say, may I call you like next Wednesday for a 15-minute call or something like that. So call to action is you are ended with the questions for them to actually respond back to you, potentially, okay, respond back to you with some kind of actions that you want them to take, right? It could be a call, right? Or it could be a link, perhaps it's like webinar invitations or event invitations or whatsoever. Click here to register now. So click here to register now is actually some kind of CTA as well, all right? So don't forget a CTA, and even like webinar registration or whatsoever, put up everywhere, right? 2 or 3 buttons, all right? Don't just put only 1 button, people might miss out, right? From on top, the middle, and also at the end of it, right? If it's a link basis as your CTA. And of course, lastly is I keep talking about being one of the topic of day also, follow-up, right? Follow-up is, I'm not saying a blindly follow-up to just everyone, but being data-driven enough in the sense that because with the email marketing software, you can actually track like open rate and click-through. So our strategy is when you see that people that open up the email already, for the fact that they already content, and those people who doesn't open their email, right? So what are you going to do with these people, right? So you can actually send a different message, okay? Maybe those who didn't open your email. So you can tweak a little bit on the subject title and send out a fresh new title to retarget those people who didn't open, okay? And those who have read your content already, perhaps they perform some kind of click. Maybe you have a link A and link B, and A is linked to product A and B is linked to product B. So if you know for a fact that these particular persons that click on link A and they go into, they show more interest on the product A, right? So you can actually retarget them by sending a more detailed information about product A to these people who has previously clicked on link A, for example. Okay, so being data driven enough, but I'm going to actually cover more about follow-up sections later on. Okay, so this is a kind of like a sample email content that we, bracket means personalization, right? It's just a very simple and straightforward, all right, with full of personalization. Okay, and this is a sample email number 2 and sample email number 3. And this is a real sample email that we actually send out for our client. All right. So whereby they are digital branding agency, and I call it a hyper personalization in the way that, whatever red color, on this screen is personalized. All right. So this is how the Excel looks like. All right. So like, for example, portfolio. All right. So like, for example, certain industry, right? Okay. If they are in financial, we're going to show finance portfolio, right? So if they are in manufacturing, we're going to show manufacturing portfolio, for example. All right. And then industry pain point, financial, what are the pain points you're facing right now? Manufacturing, what are the industry pain point in manufacturing sectors? We are going to personalize that function as well. Position title means whether they are sales and marketing or they are C-level, right? So we even express, personalize the pain point that they are facing in that particular positions that they are holding, what are drivers, the pain point in C-level as opposed to sales and marketing, all right? And of course, company name and full name is going to personalize based on the data, all right? Marketing type, focus and so on. So what you can see is this is for the sales and marketing that is going to use this data that we wrote over here and replace the red color things when we say send to sales and marketing people, right? When we send to C-level decision maker, this is a message that we're going to personalize and send to them. So each and every individual, depending on their positions and also industry, okay, we personalize the variables in all the red color things with those things on the Excel. F&B, food and beverage, what are the things that they are facing right now? And so on and so forth, right? So this is one example of how we can actually use the personalization and segmentation, to actually come up with a really highly personalized email, message, that cater to each and every individual needs. Okay, so this is a real example, right? So, and of course, I'm going to actually cover right now is the last sections of today. Okay, a follow-up strategy. Okay, why you need a follow-up, right? Okay, so follow-up is because you don't expect that a lot of email marketing actually, all right, or B2B marketing, they expect that when they send out thousands of email, there'll be people actually respond back to you immediately, okay, which it doesn't happen, all right? So this is the so-called templates of what we suggest you to consider when you send out an email campaign, but with the help of email marketing software, they can track open rate and automate everything, all right? So you can actually identify an ICP and you can actually leverage on waveleads.io platform and you can find like maybe a 5 or 10,000 contacts of your ICP and you can send to everyone, all right? Yeah, with personalization and segmentation, of course, right? And then perhaps after they take actions like, for example, maybe 10,000 people will send out, right? So 2,000 people has opened up the email and 8,000 doesn't open, right? Okay, so you can actually tweak on the subject title to be sent to those who didn't open, which is 8,000. And those who has clicked and opened your email, all right, which is the 2,000 who already seen your first message, you can actually retarget them automatically, maybe after 3 days with different contents to further nurture them, right? And of course, the good news is all these things you can actually automate, all right? With a proper email marketing system, you can actually set up all this sequence, right, upfront, at one go, and you just click send, and all these things will be automatically running by itself. Okay, and of course, also link tracking is very important. Also, just now I give an example like a click on link A and link B. So for the fact that if they click on link B, just send more information about link B to this individual, right? So, and all these things you can actually, with a proper email marketing software, you can track and you can automate and you can set up a sequence, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, to automate the follow-up process, without having you to actually to use a manual follow-up, remember, oh, after 3 days, this person has whatever, and you do it manual way, it doesn't work, right, in this age, right? So, and lastly, do consider omni-channel, right? Multi-channel, like just now I keep emphasizing, right? You can actually retarget them through externally through outside of email, like Google, retargeting, social media through Facebook or LinkedIn, and even telephone call, right? So this is a map of what I'm trying to say. Again, for our very first email, right, depend on the actions that they took, whether it's open or no open, all right? And if they don't open, new subject title, right? If they're opens, depend on whether they click or no click, and so on and so forth. But of course, this is not the map for everyone, right? So every industry is different, right? Every industry is different. Maybe some is shorter, and some is longer, right? Involve more process. But this is just a general idea what I'm trying to say. All right, when you reach the leads, so-called hot leads status, where they've gone through a series of email that you perform already, the red color one is where you can actually start to call them up, and to sell your solutions, and it's going to be a nurtured, leads through a series of email nurturing, all right? So yeah, so coupled with telephone campaign, you can effectively turn all these cold leads into hot leads for a business, right? So, and of course, the last sections of today, so it's just slight introductions about our solutions in general. All right, so as mentioned, waveleads.io is where we have a pool of resources of B2B database that you can actually log in and you can actually find the ICP and downloads, right? And we also provide email marketing software platform that can actually help you to set a sequence, help you to mass send out the email campaign, right? And automate the things, and retarget. And of course, we also have a marketing services that means help you plan out things like that, right? Rather than, yeah, so you are going nowhere, right? So we are professional marketing agency that can actually help you plan our B2B campaign. We even perform like telemarketing from Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Philippines, and so on, right? So yeah, so we can actually even handle the telemarketing campaign, not only just email, right? So those are among the solutions that we have. For those of you who are really looking into to actually launch your B2B marketing or just anything, you can actually book a one-to-one consultations so that we can really understand what are challenges that you're facing right now and how we can actually increase the so-called lead generations in terms of B2B for your business, right? That you can actually contact me and our sales consultant, which is One Tree and Sharon, okay? And their email is here, or you can actually leave it on chat, all right? And of course, this is some codes that I would like to actually share, right? Email is really, really important because it has the ability that many channels don't, right? Compared to social media, Google, whatsoever, you can do so much of personalizations and you can actually reach out directly to B2B, especially B2B, that other channels are unable to do, right? So email is so special in that sense, right? Okay, and personalizations, it's not just the name of the person or whatsoever, but it's more on how you can actually personalize the contents that solve the challenges that each and every individual that you're sending to, right? So personalizations is about relevant contents, right? So, and lastly, the best marketing doesn't feel like marketing. I like this so much is because when you send out, you don't think like you're marketing to that individual, but you position yourself as you're solving the problem that they are facing right now. So that although this is a cold email marketing in a way, but in the end, you are actually present yourself as a solution provider. Okay, so that it doesn't feel like marketing, right? So these are among the codes that I would like to share, which is for me, I think it's very meaningful, right? And of course, I would like to actually end these sessions with another two more poll. So sorry. Okay. So please help to answer. So would you like to actually discover more about waveleads.io? Okay. With our sales consultant, then we can actually guide you through. Okay, how we can actually help you to find the ICP that you already defined from this platform, right? Then yeah, basically you can actually leave your answer over here. Okay, maybe I just give another 5 or 10 seconds. Okay, so yeah, and basically maybe okay, someone is still answering. Okay, okay, then anyone still answering? Okay, yeah. If not, then I guess we carry on with the next questions, right? Okay. So yeah, would you like to actually to launch some kind of B2B marketing campaigns, whereby we can actually help you to launch some kind of multi-channel B2B marketing campaign that involve more than just email, including telemarketing, Google, social media, so on, then yeah, so it can actually effectively help you drive leads, yeah, okay. Okay, so many has participated, 65%. So hopefully we can see more people actually give some kind of answer or whatsoever. Anyone else? Okay. So if no one else, then yeah, of course, you can always email us, after this, no worry. Okay. So if not, then I'm going to end the poll. All right. And of course, yeah. All right. So the next slide is thank you. All right. So yeah, so nothing else from my side, and except that perhaps maybe Sharon, yeah, yeah, to Sharon, yeah, to
Yeah,
take over.
all right. Thank you so much, Travis, for the presentation. Okay, so let's just go ahead and take some time for question now. So just a reminder, please be sure to type your question into the question box in your control panel. Maybe let's just give like 2 minutes and then we will start to answer the questions. Okay, so far we have 6 questions. Okay, one of the first question is in terms of channel, cold calling is the hardest to automate in relation to email and chat. What are your thoughts on this, Travis?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So cold calling is very much depend on people, right? It's not using a software to actually to broadcast the message. Yeah. So we are facing quite a number of challenges, when because sometimes we work from home or people are not on the desk, you don't have an opportunity to even talk to them, right? So it's one of the hardest channel, but I wouldn't say it's a dead channel, okay? Because there's a human interactions that you can actually back and forth, understand the person's pain point, through the phone and solve, potentially on the phone, you can actually convince that people to actually do, to consider a solution in a way, yeah. So cold calling is not that, but it's still one a powerful way, but being data driven enough, all right? So being data driven enough, know what are the actions that they took through email, and yeah, so that could be perhaps answer you, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Travis. Let's proceed with the second question.
Mm-hmm.
Second question is, does Wait Fleets have data on Cambodian B2B? Notice the lack of data count mentioned.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so that is also because I did mention that wavefleets.io doesn't cover just any kind of data, right? And Cambodia currently we don't have, right? But we do offer the scrapping solutions, which we can actually help you to find a data based on an ICP. So we still be able to actually help you to find the data that you need. Maybe you're talking about like I want to actually find a data from Australia, New Zealand, or whatsoever, which we don't have, right? Okay, because we just covered Southeast Asia and Hong Kong. We can actually help you to get that as well. Yeah, we can help.
All right, thank you. Let's
Mm-hmm.
proceed with the third question. Do you have database of accommodation providers such as hotels, hostels, and etc. in Southeast Asia by OB function?
Okay, definitely, because I guess accommodations, we have quite some data if you cover like a whole of Southeast Asia. Yeah, by certain job functions depend, so if you are looking for C-level, IT, HR, finance, those are common job functions that we have. Yeah, so I mean, wavefleets.io will be able to get you the count, but our sales consultant can actually guide you further, how we can actually filter out the data also. Definitely we have the answer. Mm-hmm.
All right, okay. Okay, then another question is, I noticed the database seems to most populated in Singapore, even though it is the smallest market. Is it dynamic in the sense that Wavefleets will continue to mine the bigger markets?
All right. Okay. So in terms of population wise, yeah, Singapore has, doesn't have that much of population, right? But in terms of B2B markets, and also availability of public data, I would say, Singapore actually has the edge against other nations, other countries, because yeah, so because when we build our data, it's very much depend on, like, for example, LinkedIn and also public information, to build our data. So we tend to have more data from Singapore than any other country in Southeast Asia. Yeah, for that reason, So yeah, B2B, yeah, it's rather than B2C, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Travis. The next question would be, many email delivery systems, including MailChimp, Zoho Campaign, etc., are big on GDPR. How do you go about cold emailing and managing consent?
All right. Okay. So let's just say, for example, GDPR actually is applicable if you are sending to European, right? But Southeast Asia and Hong Kong whatsoever, I suggest you to consider a local rules and regulation. Okay. Yeah. Even though you might be in Singapore or somewhere else, you're sending to European people, right? Okay. So yes, you need to take care of GDPR as well. But GDPR, there's one section about B2B marketing that kind of like you must send a relevant content to that individual, despite you might not be necessarily getting the consent from him or her, right? They might not explicitly, okay, in a way that they say, yes, I would like to actually listen from you, or I receive an email content from you. You might not have to do that, under a specific clause, so, but you are allowed to still be able to actually send out a cold email, all right, to those people in Europe, all right? But definitely, if your main audience is in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong, you have to follow a so-called local rules and regulation. Like for example, in Singapore, right? So B2B marketing is definitely allowed without consent. Okay, it's definitely allowed without consent. So, but of course, you must actually have some kind of unsubscribe link, whatsoever the contents of the subject title and also email content must be relevant to each other. So those are the things that you have to take notes on, when you're sending to Singapore. And Malaysia would have a different rules, and then Hong Kong will have separate rules. But generally, in terms of all these rules and regulations, in terms of data privacy, right? Generally in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong is you are allowed to send without consent, all right? Mainly to B2B, right? Okay, mainly to B2B. So, but you must have some kind of opt-out options for people to actually to remove, for those people who doesn't want to receive your future email. In wavelist.io website, right? Actually, we have one section about FAQ about Southeast Asia rules and regulations. Yeah, under FAQ, I think it's on the product page, then you can actually see one of FAQ about, then you can get clear about each and every country, what you can do and what you don't, you can't, right? So yeah, I hope I answered the GDPR things.
Okay, thank you, Travis. We have a last question. What are your thoughts on companies with email solutions that auto opens and auto click links, which will trigger unwanted automation email pipeline?
Okay, so yeah, so in terms of this, right, there's nothing we can actually control also, all right? But I guess it happened to maybe small minority of company. So that means when you send out to perhaps like 1,000 emails, so I do understand this thing, it happened, but it just happened to maybe just, I don't know, 1% of the company having this kind of platform, this kind of system that auto open or auto click or whatsoever, right? Okay, there's such a thing that I see, all right? But of course, if it happened to that company, then unfortunately, nothing else we can do because definitely there's no platform in the world that currently can actually counter that kind of to track that whether it's automated opens or automated click, currently there's no such an email marketing system can actually track that, but just nothing else we can do with that, so unfortunately no platform can actually solve that things. Yeah, hope I answered the questions. Yeah.
All right. Oh, we have another question. How the system manage and to prevent the email fall into junk box?
Okay, it's a very good question because going into inbox for more, right, definitely increase the response rate, right, from this your email campaign, right? So the thing is it depends on the service provider who have to launch this email campaign. Like for example, ourselves, right? We work with like a provider, like for example, Amazon, to actually send out an email, and Amazon, right, basically is having a highly reputable IP address, that we are sending through their platform. So this would increase the chances of landing the email into inbox, rather than junk, So basically, I would say, depend on the service provider. Yeah. So what kind of IP reputations they are sending through will determine whether it go into inbox or junk. But of course, there will be many other factors like email contents, what kind of keyword that they're using, and do you put a lot of image, and so on, that will determine whether email go into junk or inbox. Yeah.
All right. I think so far we have answered all the 7 questions. Okay, thank you, Travis. I think there are no more questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we thank you everyone for your patience and time. We really appreciate you being here. Just want to add on one last thing. We actually have a promotion of 10% off our email marketing solution, especially for those who join our webinar. You may drop us an email at info@waveevo.com, which you will find it in the chat box, and one of our sales will assist you directly. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next time.